Welcome to Climate Watch. I'm Ben Tracy. So-called fast fashion has made it easy for manufacturers and consumers to keep up with new clothing trends. Synthetic fibers like petroleum-based polyester make it cheaper and faster to make new clothes. But that convenience has come at the expense of our planet. More than 100 million tons of textiles wind up in landfills each year, and only about 15% of used clothes in the U.S. are recycled. Today we explore some of the creative and innovative ways both people and companies are making fashion more sustainable. We meet a California woman who creates beautiful new garments out of flea market finds, like tablecloths and blankets. And we take a look at a popular footwear favorite now making shoes out of a plant-based leather alternative. But first, we begin with one of the few companies turning plastic into fabric. Since brother-sister duo Jake and Caroline Danahy founded Fair Harbor Clothing a decade ago, they've turned more than 35 million plastic bottles into swimsuits, jeans, sweatshirts, and more. Lana Zach caught up with the pair in their brand's seaside namesake, Fair Harbor, New York.
So this is where it all started, huh?
This is it.
A small beach community on Fire Island, just about 60 miles from New York City, Fair Harbor inspired the environmental dreams of siblings Caroline and Jake Danahy.
Sign coming in, it says it's a barefoot community, and it really is. We would even change the bottoms pedals on our bikes so it was flat and you didn't have the spikes going into your feet.
And with the boundless enthusiasm of kids, the siblings thought that they should and could tackle the problem of pollution.
Every morning when we go to walk on the beach, there was always plastic washing up on the shore, and either balloons or plastic bottles or containers. That really frustrated us because it's such a pristine place that should not have plastic pollution.
Fair Harbor became the inspiration and namesake of their sustainable clothing brand. And now, 10 years later, Fair Harbor Clothing has already recycled more than 35 million plastic bottles into swim trunks, jeans, sweaters, and more.
Whenever we come back here, it just, really shows us what it's all about. It's about protecting these beaches and beaches like this all over the world.
It's estimated that 75 to 199 million tons of plastic are currently in the ocean, and it's projected 27 to 35 million tons will be entering the water every year by 2040. The enormity of the problem inspired Jake as a college student at Colgate University.
And really learned about the origins of plastic, where it even started, how we were treating plastic, how it was being recycled. And in doing so, I found a mill that was actually converting plastic bottles into yarn. And this is back in 2014. I was like, wow, this is super cool. You can actually make yarn, and let's do something with this. And so that's when the idea of Fair Harbor was born.
Even though Caroline was younger than her brother, she was on board with eco-fashion from the start.
I actually had a fashion blog specifically dedicated to sustainable fashion that I started in middle school. So I'd go to different vintage shops and consignment shops and find a way to make old fashion new again.
So you were a little tween running around trying to advocate for the planet and sustainable fashion.
Caroline experimented with making clothes out of repurposed materials. Here's a dress she made entirely out of SAT tests for a school fashion show.
Caroline was always that resident tree hugger of our family. Her bat mitzvah theme was actually sustainability. All the furniture was made out of recycled cardboard, and so at 13 years old, Caroline was kind of paving the forefront of sustainability.
But their big break happened when the siblings had the opportunity to present their idea for Fair Harbor in a Shark Tank-style competition in front of judges like Honest Company founder Jessica Alba and Warby Parker CEO Neil Blumenthal.
We actually take plastic water bottles and turn them into good-looking, stylish swimwear.
With Caroline still in high school and Jake a junior in college, they were awarded $20,000 in grant money to get their business off the ground. Their parents' garage became the company's first product warehouse.
Our parents say that you didn't just take over our garage, it was the entire house. Because during the summers we had interns running all around the house. In the basement, everyone was picking and packing out of the garage. Our mom was passing tea around, there was a whole family, all hands on deck. And so we set up a pick and pack station in the garage.
And you're literally doing this while you're in school?
Yes.
Fair Harbor is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, with the siblings still working side by side, with Jake as the chief executive officer and Caroline as the chief brand officer.
10 years in, 35 million bottles recycled. Where do you feel like you're still not, but we just haven't gotten this down yet.
I think it's a challenge that we have every day. How do we continue to do things more sustainable, to push the boundaries? We're constantly introducing new fabrics. We have fabrics made from recycled tree bark. We have fabrics made from recycled oyster shells. There's so many other fabrics that we've incorporated. And for us too, I think that there's a mentality and there's a metaphor. Jake always says, sharks, if they stop swimming, they die. And for us too, how do we continue to stay on our toes? How do we continue to push ourselves?
The Danahy siblings continue to combat climate change. Their enthusiasm and energy still limitless.
10 years later, I mean, how does it feel? Like, what do you think when you remember back to when you were two crazy kids just coming up with an idea, and now tens of millions of plastic bottles have been recycled, you have a successful company, you employ other people. I mean, what goes through your head when you reminisce?
People told us that we didn't have enough experience, that we didn't know what we were doing, that we should go seek experience elsewhere and then apply it to our venture. But we used that to that challenge to fuel us and to push us forward. And I think we've been naive, but in the best possible way, to create the company that we want and create a more sustainable fashion apparel brand than we've seen before us. So I think we definitely like a challenge and we're up for it.
Jake, I can see your face light up, actually.
I love it here. I love it.
Up next, we head to the Atacama Desert in Chile, where thousands of tons of discarded clothes are piling into landfills. Iquique, Chile has become a dumping ground for used clothes, due in part to being a free trade zone, meaning there are little to no taxes on imports. In 2021 alone, 126,000 tons of unwanted items were disposed there. That's according to the UN. Manuel Bojorquez speaks with locals about this growing problem.
Nestled between northern Chile's Atacama Desert and the Pacific Ocean, the city of Iquique is known for its beaches and tourism. It's also a place where international trade looms large. But just a 30-minute drive into the mountains.
This is one of the biggest landfills, uno de los más grandes.
Sí.
Angela Astudillo showed us its dirty consequences. Illegal landfills, mountains of discarded clothing that are polluting the pristine desert around her home city, Alto Hospicio. By one estimate, there are at least 30,000 tons of waste.
Terminamos siendo el basurero del mundo.
You become the trash heap of the world, el basurero del mundo. Qué pena. What a tough thing.
Sí, y es triste porque
Yes, it's sad, she says, because these clothes don't even come from here. We dug in, and that's exactly what we found.
Schweitzer's Menswear, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Made in Czech Republic. Oh, wow. This is a graduation sash from Fair Lawn High School. I wonder where that is.
It's in New Jersey. What's clear to Astudillo, among the clothes and mismatched shoes, is that these secondhand items are really mostly trash, and it's not the world she wants her daughter to inherit.
ella es como mi motivación, mi fuerza,
She's your motivation.
que me ayuda como a seguir con esto.
Es tan difícil hablar de esto, no? It's tough to talk about it.
Sí.
But voices are joining in, including from the United Nations, which found Chile received 126,000 tons of used clothing and textiles in 2021, the majority from the European Union, China, and the U.S. But only 25% of that was resold. The UN report cites fast fashion and unregulated overproduction and overconsumption on a global scale. The draw for importers to Chile is that this port is in a free trade zone, meaning little to no taxes. But what people don't use ends up illegally dumped. Jaime Soto is general manager of the free trade zone.
Do you feel any responsibility about what's happening up there?
Como comentaba,
As I've said, he told us, we neither buy nor sell used clothing. We are only responsible for administering the system of free trade in this area.
this is a big problem.
Patricio Ferreira is mayor of Alto Hospicio, the city close to the dumps. He showed us the cameras recently installed around town and monitored from City Hall.
You're trying to catch people dumping illegally in forma ilícita.
En forma ilícita.
We also rode along with the city's police. Within minutes, they spotted something suspicious and took off into the desert. This man was cited for illegal dumping. It's a small local solution to that big problem Ferreira was talking about.
You would say it's overconsumption of clothes, fast fashion. That's the whole world. You want those attitudes to change. Quiere que eso cambie también.
Sí.
People here also want Chile to change its laws and restrict what used items can be imported, like other Latin American countries have done.
One California woman is helping keep textiles out of landfills by upcycling unwanted fabric into new clothes. Jocelyn West designs and sews items like blouses, sweaters, and jackets from old blankets and tablecloths, selling them to enthusiastic new owners. Here's Elizabeth Cook from our CBS Bay Area station, KPIX.
Tucked away in a San Jose storefront, clothing designer Jocelyn West is hard at work on her new collection.
I'm getting ready for spring, and these are linen dusters made from old hand-embroidered tablecloths.
Old vintage tablecloths, once destined for landfill or practically given away at flea markets.
I would find things and just be amazed at, what I was looking at and how undervalued they were.
In her hands, Jocelyn transforms unwanted linens.
This was a Pendleton blanket.
Virgin wool blankets and cashmere scraps into one-of-a-kind masterpieces.
I think this one's beautiful.
Amazing, special, really beautiful design.
Jocelyn is practicing the art of what's called upcycling.
Saving things that would otherwise be discarded or no longer needed or used, such as tablecloths, and giving them new life and new purpose and finding the beauty in them. This is all handmade filet lace and linen.
Her unique handmade garments stand in stark contrast to the trend of fast fashion. That's the mass production of cheap, stylish clothes now flooding the market. Research shows consumers are likely to discard fast fashion only after a few wears. Most of it ends up in landfill. As the clothing decomposes, it releases methane, a greenhouse gas that's 28 times as potent as carbon dioxide.
For something you're going to wear 3 or 4 times, it's not worth it. It's not worth what you're doing to the planet.
Back at the storefront, among Jocelyn's most popular garments, these warm, lightweight sweaters for toddlers made out of cashmere scraps. They often sell out first.
They're really pretty and people like them, and they're very durable.
Her brand of upcycling is a style that speaks for itself.
Being able to use old tablecloths or jackets or blankets and then giving it a new life. And it just makes it feel so much more special.
I love the idea of upcycling, recycling, right? And fashion together.
I try to upcycle whatever I can instead of throwing away. So I really appreciate when we do have more creative people doing that.
I think I'm doing the planet a favor in my own little way.
1 in 5 Americans now upcycles. It's a fashion-forward solution that hopefully never goes out of style.
Up next, how footwear company Allbirds is trying to reverse their carbon footprint, one eco-friendly shoe at a time. Welcome back. 300 million shoes are thrown away in the U.S. each year. Leather is a popular material for footwear, and it's also a major contributor to greenhouse gases. One pair of cowskin leather boots releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, equal to burning nearly 73 pounds of coal. Many leather alternatives come from petroleum-based plastics. But footwear brand Allbirds has created a shoe made of mirum, a plastic-free material that's a more sustainable alternative to natural leather. Here's Jamie Wax.
On a quiet street in San Francisco, Allbirds co-founders Tim Brown and Joey Zwillinger opened this store, hoping to disrupt the fashion industry in style, and just as importantly, in substance.
I believe it's a zero carbon emission wool.
From wool produced through regenerative farming practices in New Zealand, to harnessing eucalyptus tree fibers for its sneakers, Allbirds has been redefining fashion forward.
What are some of the challenges using new materials?
The whole industry has had a focus on plastics and synthetics now for going on 50 years. And all of a sudden you're trying to bring a new material, a new supply chain into a new product. And we've been around 5 years.
Leather is one of the most common materials in shoes. Zwillinger understands why.
It breathes. It's like, naturally weather resistant. It bends nice when you walk and it feels good. And that's a very high bar.
But leather is made from cattle hides, with animal agriculture responsible for roughly 20% of all greenhouse gases. And both traditional and vegan leather alternatives are manufactured using petrochemicals, adding another layer of toxicity.
And you look out into the world of alternatives to bovine leather, and there's not a lot out there.
As a certified B Corporation fully committed to climate-friendly business practices, Allbirds has had to walk the walk on sustainability, leaving any kind of existing leather off the table. Allbirds has launched its Pacers, available in the alternative leather called Mirum.
We scoured the earth for the best alternatives that we could find from this, and we uncovered a group that was innovating in our backyard.
The brand synonymous with Silicon Valley found what they were looking for in Peoria, Illinois.
If you can mold and shape nutrients to make performance materials, then the whole world's different.
Luke Haverhals founded Natural Fiber Welding, or NFW.
If the molecule's relatively small and not so complex.
Haverhals, a PhD in chemistry, was researching at the U.S. Naval Academy until an epiphany brought him home to the Midwest.
The most complex, high-performance materials people know about are not the synthetic ones. They're natural. And yet we make so many things out of synthetics. So why? You can mold and shape polyethylene, polyurethane, polystyrene, polyester effectively into things that work for you in your everyday life. No one had invented the suite of technologies so that it would work with the abundant, redundant, diverse natural nutrients.
In other words, plants. Nature, Haverhals says, is actually 1,000 times more productive than chemicals.
All right, this material, think of this as a dough.
NFW uses the byproducts of nature's bounty, materials like cork and natural rubber. Yes, there is all natural rubber from trees.
What a lot of people will do is they'll look at this waste and they'll say, how could I mix this with plastic to get something? And natural fiber welding comes along and says, let's not use the plastic part. Let's figure out how to mix these things together.
The leather industry, no one has any of this stuff.
In the case of plant leather, he's got Aaron Amstutz to thank.
And I just love inventing.
NFW's Chief Technology Officer. He took us inside the factory where natural materials are fed into an industrial mixer, sheeted out, and then cured under heat and pressure.
How difficult is the aspect of color with this?
So surprisingly tough, because the color isn't a thin coating over the top. The color is integral to the recipe. If I put cork powder in, the natural color will be brown. If I put lots of rice hulls in, the natural color would be tan. This happens to be clays and talcs. They give it that off-white hue.
To make sure the material is viable, it runs tests for features ranging from durability to exposure to climate.
Ralph Lauren released this hoodie, and fabrics like this are produced on machines like you see here.
In addition to plant leather, NFW has developed a textile line it calls Claris, which fuses natural fibers to mimic a moisture-wicking synthetic.
Now the fiber is in that format that the plastics normally can take on and be in.
But it feels like cotton.
But it doesn't just feel like cotton, it is cotton.
You may say he's a dreamer, but he's not the only one.
There have been a number of leather alternatives coming to the market in the last few years.
Rachel Cernansky covers sustainability and fashion for Vogue Business.
There's Milo from Bolt Threads. There's the Ecovative material.
Water repellent and biodegradable.
There is MycoWorks, which is partnering with Hermes. So the optimistic view is that they are doing these small tests to see what works in anticipation of scaling them up.
It's amazing that all of this is plant-based, all of this.
So here's a foam that's no petrochemicals, no plastics.
Haverhals hopes to make a fully biodegradable sneaker.
So when you have foam and you have a sole, you can make a nutrient shoe.
One you can run through a shredder and safely sprinkle right back into the earth.
Because the moment that any brand, let alone some of the big brands, start making nutrient things, then it's kind of like you can't not make a nutrient thing, right?
That's been Allbirds' goal from its founding. And with Mirum and other natural materials on the horizon, they think the sky's the limit.
People still, for the most part, they want better products. That's our goal. The way we unlock all that value is through sustainable innovation. The opportunity ahead of us, it's like almost infinite.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news, stream us right here on CBS News 24/7, available across all platforms. Thanks for watching Climate Watch. I'm Ben Tracy.